Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Anime Octane, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about a recent piece of anime entertainment or sometimes a larger subject within the general anime sphere. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Tonight we're going to be looking at our first impressions of the spring 2022 season, and we'll bring you, each of us will have something we think you should definitely watch, something you think is we think is kind of mid, might go either way, and something we think you should definitely avoid. Who are the we's that I'm talking about? I'm Rodney Brown, the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook and Instagram as a cosplay photographer, burly underscore adopter, on Twitter and a couple of other places doing a few other things. Joining me tonight is our resident mega weeb himself, Byron. Introduce yourself if you would.
Hello, everyone. Byron McNeil, a.k.a. Byron D0 on multiple facets of the interwebs. Contributing writer, content creator, do a bunch of different things for the site. And one of my favorites is being here with you guys. One of my menagerie of talents is art. I have a web series on Webtoons that I want you guys to check out. It's called Sisterhoods. 2 words, Sisterhoods.
And of course, as we say here in the greater Boston area, a man's an artist. So yes, check those out if you would, please. Before we get rolling, we'll start with our first promo of things we'd love you to look at, and this one is our Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/nerdcaliber, the URL that's on your screen right there. We'd love to have you check it out. If you have a Twitch account, please consider following us. Really looking to build our following on Twitch to the levels that we have it here on Facebook Live and YouTube, which are the other 2 platforms that we stream all of these shows on. Now, having said that, I think we're going to start with Byron, and we're going to start with... we're going to give Byron a chance to get the rant off his chest here. We're going to start with his choice for the thing you should really just skip, no questions asked, of the spring 2022 season. Byron, what's that worst?
Before I get started, I want to ask you one question. Do you like derivative anime? Do you like clear ripoffs of previous isekai? Then I got the show for you. Skeleton Knight. It's like, I get it. The isekai genre subgenre is, it's pretty tired. I mean, I still enjoy some of them, but this is like, I could pinpoint almost every single action, and trope from isekai in the show. And the plot is, as many isekai go, Truck-kun isekai the boy too. I'm assuming, but I digress. Sorry.
So when you say you're assuming, have you not watched the show?
No, I've watched it.
Okay. I don't recall. I don't recall it shows how he dies.
No, it doesn't. I was just assuming.
Okay.
All right, but in all seriousness, he's just like testing out his powers. The entire time I'm just sitting watching the episodes, I was like, oh my god, do something. It was all expository dialogue, and it was extremely derivative, and I will not be watching another episode.
Can't say as I blame you. I thought your criticism was going to be what the criticism of most people has been, and that is this show... I mean, a lot of people are criticizing... Yes. This show starts with a non-consensual, non-clothed assault.
I didn't want to bring that up, but...
Well, I mean, that's a way that we're not going to get demonetized if we say it like that. It has an actual content warning.
Yeah, it does.
That plays over the actual assault. It doesn't start on a black screen before the video starts. It plays over the beginning of the actual assault.
That's kind of insensitive and disrespectful.
It's insensitive, it's disrespectful, it's a really stupid way to do it. So I have now watched 2 episodes of this, and I'll tell you the reason why I didn't drop it immediately. Yes, it's derivative as hell. Skeleton Knight is clearly Ainz Al Ghun from Overlord. You know, overpowered, and particularly his adventurer disguise when he puts on the big armor where nobody can see him. I mean, it's really similar. I think Ainz has a cape, and I think that's like the only difference.
Yep. He looks like a combination of Ainz himself and his warrior persona.
Right. Where with a less interesting character. But the same concept is, you know, he's a gamer, and I think he fell asleep playing the game, and suddenly he's now in the game, which is apparently a real world now. So the reason I've been following it for 2 episodes is when, at the very beginning, he stumbles across this attack, he basically just stands there, or crouches, he's watching it, and watches to see how far it's going with no concern or emotional connection to what's going on here whatsoever. And I thought, are they going to do this sort of like Ainz, who has, over the course of multiple seasons, progressively lost his connection to his original humanity, and is the villain that he looks like at this point? And if they're going to do that, that makes this a lot more interesting, that he starts right out of the gate like no longer having any empathy whatsoever. Now, 2 episodes in, that seems to be absolutely not the case, and if I'll give it the 3 and done just to see. If it's pretty clear that that's not what they're doing, then yes, it's just a derivative, you know, mostly poorly written show that started out with a really bad mistake. And I'll be dropping it. But I'm going to give it one more. I'm going to give it the 3 and done. Harry Brady, just a second. Harry Brady, welcome to the show. Harry, what's your thoughts on the Thor Love and Thunder teaser trailer? Not this show, but we obviously will be talking about it tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on Nerd Week Live. So we will give you, whoever's on that show, will give you all of our opinions about that trailer on that show. But Harry also says, I find anime very difficult to watch. That's interesting.
Different strokes for different folks.
This is true. And feel free to let us know in the comments, Harry, why that is, if you know, if you've got a good sense of what about it doesn't work for you. And I'm going to be that person who, whatever it is where somebody doesn't like something, I'm going to say, well, you just haven't experienced the right one. And I realize that's a pretty asshole thing to say, but... All right, so folks. By the way, the full English title is Skeleton Knight in Another World. So Byron says
even the title's derivative.
Well,
Yeah, all isekai I know.
Yeah. I was flip-flopping between which isekais. Actually, the one that I chose is not an isekai. Actually, neither of them is isekai. I was flip-flopping between the 2 shows that I did have on my mid list, oh no, actually they're both on my worst list, and they were both fantasy, but with isekai-like elements, even though it's not an actual isekai, and one of them was just so insanely derivative, very reminiscent of this. I went with the other one because it's just a worse show. All right, speaking of what my choice is for worst, Don't Hurt Me, My Healer.
Oh, God. Are they really going down that route?
Yep. So it isn't. So I think what Byron is assuming that it is some kind of pastiche of redo of Healer. And I don't think that's it. I think, and you can tell if you look at the image here, it is a supposedly humorous pastiche of Goblin Slayer. You've got in this case, an elf, dark elf cleric, but you've got a cute moe-looking cleric, and a warrior who wears full plate and, at least as far as I got into the first episode, never takes the helmet off. So I think that's what they're trying to do a send up on. And the warrior character, I can't even remember the name. Alvin, is not even remotely as interesting as Goblin Slayer. The Dark Elf cleric is essentially Nagatoro-san. I mean, just a, insulting, teasing, cutting down kind of, the B word.
Why I want to step on me. Sorry.
Except not in that sense. Not in any way endearing like Nagatoro-san can be. Just annoying. I didn't give this 15 minutes because the worst thing about this show is that it's one of those shows that thinks that the height of comedy is having people screaming at each other all the time. And that ain't comedy. If the lines are really funny, then sure, they can be delivered in a really loud, screaming voice if it works. I mean, some of them, even though I was never a big fan of Seinfeld, some of the really louder parts of Seinfeld could be really funny. This is just loud. It's just screaming at each other for doing, things that they don't like to each other.
Well, they can't all be Konosuba.
They can't. Even the last attempt by the Konosuba person wasn't Konosuba. So yeah, it's just, don't watch it. It hurts your ears, and it's not funny. So there's no reason to have
watch Konosuba instead.
Go watch Konosuba instead. Or is that coming up in any of ours? What's my number one? Not really. There are much, much better comedies out there right now. It's not on either of our lists, but it was close for both of us. And that is Love After World Domination. That's really funny.
Hilarious.
I personally think I was blown away at the first episode of season 4, after years and years and years, of Date Alive. Is really funny. And I thought that was just like a bog standard, harem ecchi battle babes thing. I don't remember it being funny ever, despite probably attempts at doing so. This first episode had me laughing out loud, and that rarely happens in anime for me. Harry says, I find it difficult to watch anime because some of the shows get very confusing and hard to get through mostly. Some of the story in the series are good with some films, and the TV shows can be bad. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Particularly because anime has a tendency to lean into tropes that are...
Promise Neverland.
Or any. I don't think Promise Neverland was that particularly tropey. It screwed itself up in the second season, but there are things that if you aren't familiar with that way of doing things, like there are... in so many of them, there are always a character that's a tsundere and a character that's a yandere. And then knowing what those are, you need to know what that is. But anyway, I get that. All right, moving on to the things that are, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Byron, your first meh.
All right.
Or your meh.
Okay, when I say meh for this one, it's more like because it's season 2. Rising of the Shield Hero season 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely a show that I related to when it first came out, because after watching that first episode, I just thought, with my luck, if I were ever isekai, that's what would happen to me. Some kind of not that exact situation, but something that just screws my entire life simply because I was a victim of circumstance. But yeah, it's more of the same. It's awesome. If you haven't seen season 1, I highly recommend it. But it's not my number 1.
Yeah.
I want something fresh.
Yeah, I'm less I'm less thrilled about season 2 than I think you are. I wouldn't call it mid. That first episode, the first 2 episodes just sucked. They are almost entirely exposition.
Yeah.
Trying to make up for the fact that apparently, and I only know this because I've watched some YouTube channels about this, they skipped dozens of chapters of the book that set up why they're at the situation that they're in now, and it's what it's called the Spirit Tortoise arc.
Yeah.
So go back here. The green-haired girl was an important character at the end of the second core of season 1, but she's now a part of their party, and is being trained in a martial arts style that just suddenly appears, and also sword training with a sword expert, a woman sword expert who just appears. Apparently, all of that gets explained in those chapters they skipped from the light novel.
They're pulling on a desk code.
So they basically have to take 2 episodes of explaining what they skipped and what they changed. One of the things was Risha winds up at Raphtalia's suggestion becoming a slave of Naofumi, because when you have that relationship, you actually advance in your skills drastically because you're sort of drawing from the expertise of your slave master while you're training. And that's the reason why Raphtalia suggested it, so that you will be because Risha really wants to be stronger. So you will become stronger way faster. Apparently in the graphic novel, or in the light novel, Naofumi makes the suggestion 100% gung-ho. Just like he did with Raphtalia back in the first season. And like, all right, I get why in the anime you want to change Naofumi's character a little bit and make him a little bit less, be my slave. And have Raphtalia make that suggestion as a practical reason. But again, it's a change, and it's something that you have to sort of explain by all of this exposition. Yeah. I'm still, even after watching shows, YouTube episodes that explain what they skipped, I'm still confused. And I don't want to be confused. There's no reason why, because I clearly remember what happened at the end of the last season, why I should be this confused going into the first season. Or into the next season. But I get why this is mid. I am going to give it, I'll probably watch the whole season because it's Rising of the Shield Hero, and the first season was really good.
Yes.
All right, my mid. RPG Real Estate. So,
wow.
RPG Real Estate. No, go back to the worst. Before that, I completely forgot something on my worst. So, this is being done by a studio called Jumondo. Jumondo is mostly known as a production studio and actually produced Yuru Yuri and Oraimo, of all things. But they've only got 2 animated products as an actual animation studio, and they're both hentai. So on top of it just being a series where people scream at each other, it's made by a hentai studio. So, yeah, that's why.
Is the Sakuga at least good?
I didn't make it past a fight or into a fight. They were all just yelling at each other for 15 minutes, and I went, done, gone. But my mid is RPG Real Estate. It is a moe slice of life, feel good anime. It's done by Doga Kobo Studio, which is actually a really good studio.
Is it in the Iyashikei genre?
Almost. Kind of. It's a little bit more slice of life. But they are known for Iyashikei. and slice of life and comedy, and not necessarily so much comedy. Plastic Memories they did, and that's not a comedy at all. That'll make you cry. But they did How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift? New Game, which is definitely a slice of life. A bunch of things like that. Particularly Diary of Our Days on the Breakwater, which is very much an ESK. And what's the English title of this? Asteroid in Love. About girls who are absolutely obsessed with astronomy. And again, also an ESK. So this one kind of is. It's also a little more, kind of ecchi. You can see, so the characters are, let me get their names right. Kotane, who's the witch in the front. Rufuria, who is the priest with the blonde hair. Fa, who is a demi-human, I think, water dragon type. And Rakira, who's a warrior. And that is Rakira's warrior outfit there. And she is kind of embarrassed by it, and, for good reason. And there are onsen scenes already and so on. And Kotane is really stacked. But it's really fun, and it's an interesting concept. And this is a fantasy world, but RPG in this story actually stands for something. It's like rent, purchase, and grow, or something like that. Like rent your home, purchase your home, grow your investment. And that's the name of their real estate firm that they all work at.
This is really moe.
Yeah, it's very moe looking. I will have to say that I was looking up the picture for this, and found what I thought was an immediate. It's like, okay, Rule 34 always. You elude the moe girls. It just always happens. Because a picture of Rakira in a much, much smaller warrior outfit than what she's wearing now. No, that's what it looks like in the manga. And I went, okay, all right, well, I can see that they toned this down a bit for the anime. It is kind of an ESK, so I'm probably going to finish it out because it's sweet and cool and whatever. And I like the fantasy elements that they lean into pretty heavily. But it's really mid. It may get to the point where after 3 or 4 episodes, I just there are too many other really interesting things I want to watch, and I'm just going to waste my time. All right, Byron, what's the best so far of the spring season?
I'm gonna have to say I keep messing up her name. It's Shikamori. Shikamori is more than just a cutie.
Yep.
Yes. It's a mouthful of a name. That's why I keep getting it scrambled. But I don't remember the name of the boyfriend, but of course I know Shikamori.
Let me see if I can look it up real quickly here. But keep talking while I'm looking it up.
Yeah, she is the titular character, and Shikamori is in a healthy relationship with this cinnamon roll of a boy whose name and he is seriously the sweetest boyfriend I've ever seen in anime or just anything. And I want to protect him.
Izumi,
yes.
Izumi's the boy you're looking at here that Shikamori is looking very intensely at in this image.
Yeah. I mean, I like Shikamori as a character to an extent. It's just she gives off serious yandere vibes. It's like like the first time I saw her with a hand in her face, I'm just like, why does she look like
pink hair for one, but yeah,
and reddish eyes.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, I don't know if I would call her. So those elements aren't quite so much yandere, and at least they're not portrayed this way by the people who react to her, as more, the cool dude. Even at one point in the second episode, Izumi, when she does one of those super cool, super intense things where she pulls her hair back, and Izumi says, "Wow, who's that really cool guy?" And his best friend goes, "That's your girlfriend, dude." It's like,
jeez.
And sorry if I spoiled that if you haven't seen episode 2 yet, Byron. But it is very funny. I agree, and it is a great premise. I think, this is my prediction, I haven't read any of the information about the manga or anything else about what this is based on, but just based on her reaction when Izumi in that first episode finally notices how she, like, pulls a full-on Matt Murdock Daredevil catch the brick, stops things from hitting him that she can't see. And he kind of goes, "Wow, how is it that you can do such incredible things?" And she gets really flustered for a second. I think you're going to find out she's secretly like a superhero or a fighter for justice or something.
Or genetic experiment.
Or a genetic experiment or something like that, yeah. I think for comedy's sake, I think they're going to go, superhero route or something along those lines. But it is adorable. He is the clumsiest, sweetest cinnamon roll of a guy, no question. And she is, absolutely, beautiful, cute, adores him, and occasionally can be like serious John Wick badass.
Well, she's definitely a new candidate for best girl of 2022.
I gotta say, if Demisu from Love After World Domination did not exist, she would 100% be the, only candidate for best girl of spring 2022. Demisu, though.
I mean, it's still like a close race with My Dress Up Darling.
Well, that's true. Right now, there's nobody that is going to knock Marin Chen off the pedestal, as far as I know. All right, my best. Spy Family. Spy Family.
I keep meaning to start that one.
Oh, Byron, you've got to start it. I'll try not to do too many spoilers, but this is in the descriptions, so I don't think this is too much of a spoiler.
Is it Crunchyroll?
It is Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is all I have now, so, aside from the, like, Netflix or, Amazon. So everything that I'm seeing is on Crunchyroll. So in this image you're looking at here, the dude all the way over to the right is an agent for the fictional, roughly 1950s or 60s era country of Westalis. And his only name is Twilight. He is given an assignment to go into the neighboring enemy, Cold War level enemy country, Ostania. It's clearly East and West Germany. It's, there's no question. That's what they're setting up here. To investigate this politician named Donovan Desmond, the only way to get to know him, his only connection to the outside world, is through his son's school, a school called Eden Academy. So his assignment is to get a daughter and get her into the academy so that he can start going to events where this guy Desmond will be. So he invents a character for himself. Lloyd Forger is his name. And he winds up, picking this girl out of an Ostanian an orphanage, Anya, who's the cute little, pink-haired girl in the picture. And Anya is obsessed with a local spy show. The equivalent of Man from U.N.C.L.E. or whatever it is, of that world. So she loves spies, which is great because she, as it turns out, is a telepath. And she can hear everything Lloyd is thinking. And she doesn't go, "Oh my God, my dad's a spy," and try to run away. She's like, "Yes, a spy." Well, then he finds out that he needs a wife because for the actual in-person interview with the academy, he has to be there with his wife. So he winds up recruiting this woman Yor, who's the black-haired woman, the beautiful black-haired woman in the photo there, not knowing that Yor is an Austanian assassin. But of course Anya knows this because Anya's a telepath, and is absolutely thrilled by the fact that her mom is a killer and her dad is a spy. And it's hilarious. It's absolutely the most endearing. Anya's facial expressions will drive every meme going forward coming out of the anime community for the next year. They're just wonderful. It's a great show. It's really well written. It's smart. It's got that level of tension, that just enough because they are spies, and this is a legit mission going on here, but also just a lot of heart and humor, and it's in my mind absolutely the best show. And there's a lot of really good ones.
Definitely agreed.
Now, unfortunately, I'd have to say that this is not the level of quality of or number of quality shows as last season. There are some really good ones. Love After World Domination, Spy Family. I agree with Byron's pick. Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie. Those are all absolutely worth watching. But to me, Spy Family is the only one that really vaults itself way above that. Not counting other returning seasons. Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 3 is... In its first episode, it introduces as a villain a guy who is the head of the Guild of Ink Makers. And mine is, a young girl, and this isn't a battle or any kind of... They make him one of the most concerning, not necessarily terrifying, but concerning villains in recent anime history. A guy that runs an ink guild. It's such good writing. But I didn't want to concentrate on sequels, follow-on seasons. I wanted to concentrate on just the new stuff. So that's why I picked mine. Anyway, that's it, folks. One more plea for things for you to check out. If you would, please visit our Patreon page. There on your screen, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. We'd love to have you consider being a patron. If you do, we've got 3 tiers that you can sign up for. The lowest one is just $2. We use that stuff to get us to cons. Speaking of cons, well, I will say, I believe that this week we're going to do our promos for upcoming shows now. Nerd Week Live is tomorrow night, of course. We have a lot of interesting topics. Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and a few other things. And that'll be 8 o'clock on all of these streaming channels as usual. We will not be doing our Full Fat Spoiler Chat this week because of PAX East, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there's just no way I'm going to be back to where I'm going to be staying Thursday night in time for our 8 o'clock show.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. All right, so that said, unfortunately we'll be skipping it because we may wind up actually moving this to a different week because I am 2 episodes into the now I consider amazing 4-episode limited series DMZ adaptation of the Vertigo comic from years back, and it's amazing. It's really solid. So I think I may try to skip it.
I've been hearing good things about it.
It's really good. And it's only 4 episodes, so it's 4 hours. Yeah. But anyway. So, no Full Fat Spoiler Chat this week. Speaking of cons, where will we be from Thursday through Friday? Or some of us. Some of us Friday through Sunday. Some of us Saturday and Sunday. We got a big team. Byron, where are we going to be?
PAX East.
PAX East. I've posted this up on my first person shooter up on Nerd Caliber, but I'll be set up in the same place I was most of last year, the right-hand side seating area, right-hand side elevators, behind all of the will call ticket stuff. And Saturday night, 7:30, in the Arachnid Theater, our cosplay and photography shootout. We're putting together our very final stuff for that right now. And we will probably, because we've only got an hour, be limiting it to 10 teams. So if you're a photographer and you want to get in on this, you should get in early so we can get you signed up. And a cosplayer as well. But the cosplayers, we usually try to pair 2 or 3. And end of May, there we go. I will be running, and Nerd Caliber will be running along with me, the photo department at Anime Boston. May 27th through 29th. If you need to find out where to get your free photos from Nerd Caliber and from Anime Boston, since we're doing it for them this year, it's room 102. Same cosplay photography suite that they've had for years. So right there on the first floor, right around from the rotunda, room 102. And hopefully we'll see you then. And we'll have our press team out doing, videos and other stuff as well. But instead of going to the community row hallway and looking for our table, we will not have a table. You'll find us in the cosplay photo suite running it. So we'll see you at one of those upcoming shows. Byron, give us a goodbye.
All right, guys. Thanks for talking anime stuff with us. It's always a good time. As I said before, check out my comic series on Webtoons, Sisterhoods. 2 words, Sisterhoods. Have a good night.
Awesome. Have a good night, folks. Stay safe out there. We'll see you